Hey everyone, I hope you're all well. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I am doing something kind of different for you guys. I'm going to be talking about my experience of getting into medical school, what I had to do to get in, how I found the process, and a little about how I'm finding it now that I'm here in my third year of medical school. So if you guys are interested in possibly studying medicine or any healthcare related subjects such as dentistry, pharmacy, this video may be useful for you. If you guys just want to know what applying to uni is like, there could be some helpful tips in here for you. So if you want to know about my story of getting into medical school, then please keep watching. So sorry if I keep staring back at like my laptop screen. It's because I've made a list of everything that I want to discuss in this video because I feel like it's going to be quite lengthy, but I just want to go through everything top to bottom because I feel like it's really important to know absolutely everything that goes into applying to medical school. So I know that right now it's like kind of the end of September, so medical school applications usually with UCAS have to go out mid-October. So hopefully this video can help you guys maybe with your decision making of applying to universities, applying for medicine, deciding if even the course is for you, etc. So yeah, I feel like for that you need to know absolutely everything that gets involved into applying to medicine here in the UK. So the first thing that is really important is your grades. Unfortunately, it's really difficult when you have a passion for a subject, but they have such strict grade limitations that it honestly kind of makes it impossible to apply if you don't have these grades. Like medicine is really strict on what grades, like medical schools are really strict on what grades that they want from you. So I'll tell you guys things like this in terms of myself, and then I'll tell you guys what I think the average like medical student has. So for GCSEs I achieved 9 A stars and 2 A's. So I think that the average medical student will probably hit above 5 A stars, I think. 5 A stars, the rest majority A's. GCSEs are looked at by a lot of medical schools. I remember when I was applying, Oxford really focused more on your GCSE grades more than your AS and your predicted A2 grades. So GCSEs are really important. They're important to be taken into consideration. I think if your GCSEs didn't go how you wanted them to go, that shouldn't dishearten you. But it's also important to bear in mind that GCSE grades are really important to some universities. So maybe don't apply to the universities that put a lot of weight onto the GCSE grades. So just in case some of you want to know what subjects I did IGCSE in biology, chemistry and physics, and then I did maths, English literature. I got an A in English language, but everything else I just mentioned A star. My other A was in French, and then I got A stars in history, geography, Farsi and religious education. So I think that when you want to study medicine, you need to have at least done double science, but it's fine if you haven't done triple science. I think double science should be fine. Same for dentistry as well, but you want to be securing good grades in these because it helps you when you progress into A levels. If you don't take your sciences seriously at GCSE, it's going to be difficult for you when it comes to A levels because it's much tougher at A levels to do science GCSEs. Which is why some schools have like minimum grade requirements if you want to do those A levels. So I think that GCSE grades are hugely significant in terms of helping you set up a strong application. But again, if you don't have it, don't dwell on that. Look up other universities that put more of a weight on your AS and A2 grades. But AS, I achieved 5 A's. You couldn't at the time, I don't think there's even any AS, there's no AS now, or like some subjects randomly do AS, but I think I was the last year to have AS. So I did A levels biology, chemistry, maths, economics and Persian, and Persian isn't my first language, by the way, so I think if you're an international it didn't count as an A-level subject, but for me it did count. So you might want to look that up in your university, see if your A-level in your home language actually counts for you. So I did those 5 subjects and I carried them on to A2 as well, and I got 5 A's in those subjects, and as a result I had good predicted grades, which gave me a strong application for applying to university. To apply to medicine now, because there's no AS and there's only A2, you only need to do 3 subjects. You don't need to do 4 ASs anymore in most schools. So you can just do biology, chemistry, and then the 3rd subject, whatever of your choice. But I think that all medical schools do want the biology and the chemistry from you. Again, you need to look that up for each medical school individually, as each medical school has its own like requirements. But I think in terms of the degree, it does help you a lot to have biology and chemistry. So I think that I would recommend them highly for applying to medicine. I did maths as well because you had to do either maths or physics in my time, but I probably would have done it anyway because it opens a lot of doors to you. Say if you reach A2 and you decide that you don't actually want to do medicine, it's not for you, then you've got a lot more doors open to you. But for your 3rd subject, you can pretty much do whatever you want, so long as it's counted as a subject by the university of your choice. So you could be doing history, you could be doing art, you could be doing whatever you want. Usually just check with the website of the university of what subjects that they require from you, and you're probably good to go. As I said, I continued all 5 of these subjects onto A2, and I got 4 A's and a B in A2. So I got A's in biology, in chemistry, in economics, and in Persian, and then I got a B in maths. So those were my grades overall. And so the grade requirements for applying to medicine, still as it stands for most medical schools, ranges from AAA, so AAA, all the way up to A-star AA. And I think maybe places like Cambridge may have A-star A, but I in my time it wasn't like that. The highest offers that went out were A-star AA, and you don't have to do more than 3 subjects to impress. I think, me personally, reflecting on my A-level journey, I wish that I'd stuck to 3 subjects and put less pressure on myself, because when I start going through all the other things I was doing at the same time, I think you guys will see I kind of overwhelmed myself, which I regret now, but as in I was doing it so that I could definitely get to where I wanted to get. So I guess it worked out for me in the end. But yeah, I don't recommend going overboard. Just stick to the 3 that they want from you and it should be fine. I also did a project called EPQ. Again, this is not asked for by many universities. They don't actively say that you need to have done an EPQ, but it was a nice opportunity for me to do a project, which is something that you kind of have to do every year in medical school anyway. So in medical school we have something called an SSC every year, which is a student selected component, and you basically write between 3,500 to 5,000 words, depending what year you're in, on a subject of your choice. And yeah, the EPQ is something similar. You have to write a few thousand words on a topic of your choice, and I think mine was medical based anyway. It was on the care for extremely premature babies. So yeah, you don't have to do an EPQ, and so there's no grade requirement for it, but it's a good thing to have extra. Let's say if your personal statement is lacking other things, like you don't have as much other extracurricular stuff, or you want to make up for lower GCSE grades or something, then maybe an EPQ is good for you. So now that we have the grades aspect of it settled, I want to go on to the entrance exams, because they're again like a whole another set of examination loops that you need to jump through. So in the UK, the entrance exams that we have are the UK CAT and the BMAT, and if you're a graduate we also have the GAMSAT. So in my first year of applying, I applied twice. In my first year of applying, I did the UK CAT and I did the BMAT. The UK CAT is 5 sections. It's verbal reasoning, abstract reasoning, quantitative reasoning, situational judgment, and decision making. So there's 5 sections to the UK CAT, and you'll get a score released every year in the middle of the UK CAT cycle of what the average is for that year. When you want to apply to most medical schools, they kind of look at the average of the year and then they pick anyone who hits the average or above. Usually, not always. You're gonna get loads of people who got below average but still got to interview. But if you want to like kind of give yourself an edge over everyone else, you want to be hitting the average or above. Don't think that in this case getting the average is you know, a bad thing. It's not. Bear in mind, everyone who's sitting this wants to do medicine or dentistry, so you're part of like the top brightest minds in the country anyway, so an average score will be way more than enough to hopefully get you an interview. It doesn't guarantee you an interview. You could get less than that and get an interview, you could get more than that and not get an interview. So you know, medicine, there's no guarantee when it comes to these things. It's all about just maximizing your opportunity and your chance of getting an interview in a space. So the BMAT has 3 sections. It's an aptitude section, a scientific knowledge section, and a written essay section. So in order to do the BMAT, there's kind of a bit more studying involved because there's science in there, whereas the UK CAT is all about practice, practice, practice. So for the UK CAT and BMAT, there's loads of different courses and things you can do. So for the UK CAT, my most recommended source to use is definitely the Medify website. So that's www.medify.co.uk. They were really helpful. They had so many questions. It was like a question bank for UK CAT, and they were really helpful at the time when I was applying, and now 4 years on, my friends who are applying for graduate entry sitting the UK CAT also use Medify. So it's a really good source. For BMAT, I went on, if you live in England, then you probably are lucky in that you can apply and enroll in a lot of courses. I went on something called a Kaplan course for the BMAT, and then the following year I went on the course for the UK CAT as well. And they give you a booklet and they teach you how you should be studying for the subject, and they also give you a practice booklet of questions as well. So there's loads of sources that are available for you to study, but the highest recommendation that I can give is to study. So, you know, the summer of AS, like the summer after your AS where you're going to be going into A2, you need to be spending that summer revising for these entrance exams, because how you score in them can definitely change your chance of getting an interview for medical school. So take them really seriously, plan and prepare, spend about, you know, even if it's a couple of hours a day from the start of summer and then towards the end of summer upping it to like 3-4 hours a day, make sure you give it that time and you work on it slowly, building up your knowledge and building up your skills. With the UK CAT especially, it's pretty much all about practice. The more practice you have, the faster you're going to be, and the quicker you're going to spot patterns and quantitative analyses and stuff like that. You're going to pick it up much quicker. So definitely practice. I've never done the GAMSAT, so I can't really comment on that from my experience, but I'm pretty sure it follows, from what I've seen with my graduate friends, that it follows the same format as like a BMAT, except it's much more tougher because they have more expectations from you as a graduate. So it's got a lot of science in it, and again, like a lot of aptitude, so you're going to need to revise for it very hard as well. So again, from the start of summer, you'll probably need to start revising for that as well. So now I've explained about the grades and the entrance exams, I think maybe I should share a bit of my application story, so as to set a picture for you guys. So like I said, I got 9 A stars and 2 A's at GCSEs, and I got 4 A's and a B at A level. And in my first year, as in when I was sitting my A2s, I had an offer from a university for A star AA, and like I said, I achieved 4 A's and a B, so technically I missed that offer. So as a result, I didn't get my space in university. I had to take a gap year, and with the grades that I had, because medicine, most other medical unis only give out AAA offers, or at least they did in my time, I took a year out and kind of did some more work experience, did a bit of my own thing, and reapplied with the same grades, and now I'm at a medical school in London. The reason why I'm sharing this is because I remember I kind of vowed to myself when I got in that I would share my story one day on YouTube, so that as to tell you guys, don't give up hope. I remember when I didn't get in, it was literally as if like a part of me had died. I was depressed, I would be upset. All of my friends were at Freshers Week. They were Snapchatting everything. They were putting it all up on Instagram, Facebook, all of the social medias you can imagine. And I was sitting at home looking at how that could have been me and it's not. And I don't even know if I'm going to end up at uni the following year going to study medicine. And I tried so hard, I'd studied so hard, and I was just so upset. But I did keep myself busy and I did work hard on it and I didn't give up. And because of that ethic, I managed to secure myself a space that same year to join medical school the following academic year. So don't give up, don't lose hope. Just even if you've done everything perfectly or to the best that you can and you don't get in the first try, it doesn't mean that, you know, you weren't good enough. And it doesn't mean that you should lose hope in yourself or lose faith in yourself. There's always other options and there's always other things to do. And at the end of the day, life is, you know, not in our control always, no matter how badly we want some things. And for me, I was lucky. I didn't get in the first year, and now I'm in a university in my actual home city, which is London, so I don't have to commute. I do have to commute, but I don't have to live out in another city and be far from my family. So it worked out for the best. So don't forget, everything always happens for a reason. Don't ever upset yourself, don't ever lose hope, and always keep trying. So the next thing I want to talk about is the work experience. So I'll talk about it again in terms of myself. I found it really hard in the beginning to get work experience because obviously going onto a medical ward is so difficult when you are not a medical professional. There is so much confidential information. There's patients who want their own privacy. They don't really want to be pestered by medical students, let alone just general students who aren't even medics yet. So it's really difficult for doctors to be able to give you that opportunity to come and check out how they do things, because it violates a lot of humans' privacy laws in terms of like coming in to see a doctor. I found that a lot of my friends whose parents were doctors got work experience so much more easily because, you know, just go to work with mum or with dad. And I went to, luckily, a really amazing school where even though a lot of the people who were applying to medicine had parents who were doctors, there were a lot of people who didn't. And so I had a very lovely tutor who helped all the children who wanted to apply to medicine and dentistry. And she found a doctor who was willing to allow us to spend 6 months every Friday on a geriatrics ward. So geriatrics is a ward for elderly people. So in that 6 months, I'd go every Friday with one of my friends and we would speak to the elderly people. We would see how they found their time in the hospital, just keep them company, read newspapers to them, help them with their feed, and just try and be as helpful as we can without getting in the way of anyone, really. And that was honestly quite interesting. It was nice to be on a ward. I'd never been on a hospital ward before. I didn't know what it was like. So it was nice to get some insight to see what it's literally like in a hospital environment, because that is where you're going to be working for at least 2 years of your foundation year, and then any sort of training that you do, unless you become a GP, will be mostly spent in hospitals. So it's good to get an insight of what it's like to be on the wards. So my next work experience was in my gap year. When I didn't get in, I wrote a letter to my GP. So I was lucky in that I'd built a relationship with my GP through visits and stuff like that, where I told them that I was applying to medicine. They were really supportive of me. And when I didn't get in, I wrote a letter to my GP and explained the situation to them. And my GP offered me a voluntary job at the practice. And I did that for around 6 months. I met some incredible people, some incredible doctors, in particular one doctor who allowed me to shadow her for most of that time, and she was a chair on the Cancer Commissioning Board, so I ended up going to a lot of huge NHS meetings with like huge consultants, and then they'd all go around introducing themselves, and I was just there like, hi, I'm Seppi, a gap year student. So it was quite cool in that I got to see so many great things, and I had like a mentor at the same time. So definitely, if you're looking to find work experience, try getting in contact with your local GP or any doctors that you might have already had built some sort of relationship with, in terms of being able to ask them for work experience. Yeah, knock on the doors that you have available to you. There's nothing to lose. If they say no, then at least you tried, so, you know, why not? Next, I'll go into my extracurricular activities. So this is all the stuff that really, you know, you want to put into your personal statement as well, and tell them what you've been up to, show them what you've done to be like a kind, helpful member of society. Because, you know, being a doctor is all about being helpful and being kind, and, you know, wanting the best for people, helping them through their journey of coming in unwell and hopefully leaving better, or just giving them a better quality of life. So you want to kind of show medical schools that, you know, you've thought about that before by the work experiences and the extracurricular activities that you do. So for 6 months I would volunteer every Tuesday at a school down the road from my school, and this school was for people with special educational needs. So I would just help out in the classroom. It was almost like being a teaching assistant, and it was really good because you'd build bonds with the students and they'd look forward to seeing you when you did come in. And it was really a nice opportunity to see how blessed we are with our education and how lucky we are to learn everything that we know, and to be able to pass on that knowledge and help other people who might find it trickier than us. It was honestly really eye-opening. I loved it. The next thing that I did was kind of a job that I've had since I was like 16 and a half. So when I first started AS, I also started off tutoring. So I had quite strong GCSE grades, and I'm quite an easy person to talk to, and in class my teachers always used to say that the way that I love to learn things is by basically telling people and explaining to them how I learned what I learned. So I was quite good at explaining things. So my parents found me a job as a tutor, and I did that from the age of 16 and a half till 6 months ago. So no, not even 4 months ago. So from 16 and a half to 21 I've been a tutor, and I've loved it. It's a chance to pass on your knowledge. It's a chance to keep your knowledge refreshed. You'll be surprised how much your GCSE knowledge and school knowledge and AS and A2 knowledge pops up again in university. So that was really insightful. Also working with younger people, it gives you different insight as to how their mind works and what their take on stuff can be. So it's good to kind of have work experience with people of all age ranges. So in that sense I was really lucky to have that job. In school I'd also do things to show that I was an active member of society and participate in the things that I really enjoyed. So I was the editor-in-chief of my school's science magazine. That was really, really fun. It kind of gave me like Anna Wintour vibes, but on a scientific like approach to things. So it was really, really fun for me. I really liked it, and I liked the responsibility that came with the job. Talking about responsibility, I was also a school prefect in my final year of school, and that was quite fun because I was in year 13 and I was helping out with little year 7 people who just started in school, and you know, you want to make sure that they're all fitting in, making friends, and they're all happy. And I'd spend like 2 or 3 mornings a week in their class with them, just making sure that everything was good. And the last thing that I did in school as well was I was a member of the charity committee, and that was awesome. We managed to do fashion shows, football tournaments, and all of these really fun stuff. So it was nice to have an aspect that was not science-based and kind of something fun to do outside of like the whole medical application thing. So yeah, being a member of the charity committee was really fun. So I know that not all schools can offer you this many committees and stuff to do, but you'll be surprised how many things there are going on in just like your local community. So there'll be loads of things that you can get involved with, and even if there's stuff like that you want to do that hasn't even been started, you can start up your own societies in school. I'm sure there's always going to be a teacher who's willing to help you do that, to, you know, and it's even better if you're the founder of a society and you started something up for yourself, or even in the community. It's always nice to see new thoughts and ideas being brought to life and how hard you worked to make that happen. Penultimate thing that I want to talk about, I know this video has been so long, but you know, you just have so much to say when it comes to medical when it comes to medical application. So I want to talk to you about interviews. So once you pretty much get everything that I've talked about, so the grades, the entrance exams, the work experience, and the extracurricular activities down to a T, and all perfectly written up in your personal statement, you will hopefully, fingers crossed, get that interview. So when you get the interview, you cannot just rock up in there and be yourself and hope that that will get you through. That is unfortunately not enough. They will have planned questions for you and want to see how much you are interested in the subject of medicine, in the subject of science, what you've done so far in school, and you need to be prepared for that. If you go into an interview, you know, have you ever heard that phrase, failing to plan is planning to fail? So you need to plan for this interview. So how do you plan for an interview? Make an interview folder. So I have an interview folder and I have lent this out to so many friends since finishing, and it's pretty thick. Yeah, it's like got a lot in there, and I've divided it into sections, and I will tell you guys what sections are in there and why I think they're important. So the first section is my personal statement highlighted. So you print out your personal statement and you highlight the things that you think you could be questioned about in a panel interview. So there's two types of interviews, I should have said. There's panel and there's multiple mini interview. Panel is just 3 people sitting down and asking you questions about various topics. Multiple mini interviews is going into about 6 interviews, each one being about 6 to 8 minutes with different people in different stations, and they could give you scenarios, they could give you ethical situations, they could be asking you about yourself, they could be asking about your personal statement. So anything could come up, but it's a chance for you to, once you come out of that interview, feel refreshed. If it didn't go well, you can start fresh in the next one. So there's 2 types of interviews, but you can prep with both of these with an interview folder. So like I said, I got my personal statement and I highlighted it, and the things that I'd highlight, for example, was I'd mentioned something about Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So I highlighted this and then I researched everything that I should know at that stage about Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So if I was questioned on it, it wasn't like I'd just thrown those words into my personal statement. I actually knew what it was about. So make sure that you research your personal statement properly, so that you don't get grilled on it and then get stuck on something that you wrote yourself. That would be really annoying. The next part is called About the University. So like my sticky note says About the University. I basically go onto the university's website, and then the one that I have the interview with, or the one that I'm applying to, and I would pick out, you know, the most important things that there is to know. So, you know, how do they interview? Do they do MMIs, multiple mini interviews, or do they do panel interviews? What's special about their university? Why do they tell you to come there? So you can kind of sell back their answers to themselves. So if they tell you, we offer an integrated bachelor's degree, when you go there, you can tell them, oh, I heard that you offer an integrated bachelor's degree. I think I'm really interested in that. So you can kind of pick up from the cues that they give you and use it to your own advantage in the interview. So then I would definitely recommend, you know, coming up with your own, you know, few bullet points to write down of why you chose that medical school in case you get asked that question. The next section that I had is called medical issues. So what I would do was, the week before my interview, I would go into BBC News and I'd click on the health section and I'd look up the top 3 health issues that were buzzing in the news that week, because it's important to show that as a medical student and future doctor, you're keeping up with what's going on in the health scene and in the medical scene, and keeping up to date with your knowledge. That's really important. So for example, my article here says Wales and Northern Ireland A&E waits worsen. So you'd look that up and, you know, you try and look at what might have caused that, what previous articles might have linked to that, etc. My next section in my interview folder is called Global Issues. So that's basically, again, the week before my interview, I would go and look up the top 3 stories going on about issues going on in the world at that time. So for example, here it says there was Cyclone Pam at the time of my interview. So, you know, I'd be aware of that. Something about to do with the UN and human rights, and Ebola outbreak. Yes guys, that is how long ago I applied to uni that Ebola had just sprung up. So yeah, the next section in my interview folder was the structure of the NHS. You could be questioned on this, and it's important to know what the structure of the NHS is, because it's actually super confusing, and you know, even doctors can get confused over it sometimes because there's lots of things going on. So if you go on the NHS website, or if you go on Google and you type in the structure of the NHS, there is something there to explain it all to you well and proper, so that you kind of have an idea of what you're talking about when you get asked it. The next section is my list of sample MMI questions. So I'd just go onto Google and I'd type in sample MMI questions and scenarios. Like I said, some of them are ethical based, some of them are, judgment based, some of them are just to see what kind of person you are, what your priorities are. And yeah, it's good to get some practice of what kind of questions could come your way, so that you don't go in and think, what does, picking what train journey I should go on if I'm going to be late to work have to do with getting into medical school. And if you get some practice, you'd realize it's because they want to see what your prioritization is like and how you just react in a triage situation. So it's good to get some ideas of the questions. The last and probably the most important section of my folder is the top 100 most common questions asked in interviews, and underneath it I've answered all of them. So I don't know if you can see, the black is the question and underneath it is the answer. So just go on the internet and type in the top most common medical interview questions and you should come up with a huge list. So on my list was, what was the most important medical advancement in the past 100 years? So I'd have a list of these questions and then I would sit down and think of the answers, then I'd type them up underneath it, and then I'd read through my answers over and over again. And when I tell you, I think in pretty much all of my interviews, especially the uni that I'm going to now, I think all of my stations had one of these questions in them. So I just pretty much went in there, and when they would ask me a question, I'd pretend to think for about a minute, like, and then give them like an amazing answer. So, it's good to show that you've thought about these big issues, and also not to act like, oh my god, I know all the answers because I've practiced before, but kind of, I know the answer because I'm educated and I've researched these topics. Next thing to talk about is obviously picking your medical school. Picking your medical school will ultimately boil down to your grades, your scores in the entrance exams, and which one you like. So it's really important that you go and visit the ones that you think you would enjoy going to, and making sure that what you have to offer matches what they're looking for. So it's really important to look that up and weigh up the pros and cons of these universities before you go and apply to them. Don't just pick on a whim. Make sure you kind of have a system in order of why that you think they would pick you. And lastly, for some personal advice, so now I'm in medical school, I'm in my 3rd year, and I would say if I was to have to get some advice from someone who's in 3rd year and I was in A-levels or whatever, thinking of applying to medical school, I wish that they would have told me, one, just about how many long hours you'll be working as a medical student, and about the fact that those long hours are nothing compared to the hours you'll be working as a doctor. So when you're working as a medical student, you do have to dedicate a lot of your time to being a medical student and doing the studies, attending classes and lectures and clinical skills. But will this be difficult for you? All depends on if you're actually passionate about medicine. If you're not passionate, then spending about 10 to 12 hours a day on medicine is not going to be fun. If you're in it because for all the wrong reasons, then you're going to burn out really quickly, because it is a lot of hours. I would say about 2 months before my exams start, I'm on lockdown. You won't see me out. I'll be waking up in the morning, going to uni, attending classes, staying in the library till about 11, 12 at night. Closer to exams, I'll stay till about 2, 3 in the morning, then come home, go to sleep, and repeat that cycle for 2 months. It is intense, but because I enjoy it, it is definitely worth it for me. So make sure that you're willing to commit to these hours and commit to this job before you do it. Look it up properly, do your research properly, get your work experience properly, watch vlogs of doctors or documentaries on doctors, and see if that is what you want to be doing day in, day out for X hours a day, and dedicating a lot to it. Let me tell you, it is extremely rewarding. It is extremely pleasuring, because not only do you help people, but you're also building your own knowledge at the same time, and nothing makes you feel more powerful than having a special knowledge that not everyone has. You know, people trust you with their lives. And when I say that, I'm a third-year medical student, and I've already had so many people come up to me and ask me for advice on like life-threatening conditions that like their parents have, that they have, that family members have, things that they're worried about. People put that trust into you. So it is extremely rewarding, but don't forget how much you have to sacrifice or dedicate, however you want to look at it, in order to receive these rewards. So definitely bear in mind the enjoyment, the fact that you'll need to motivate yourself and dedicate yourself to medicine, but don't think that your life will be solely medicine. Look at me, I do YouTube, I do fashion blogging, I used to work also as a part-time tutor. I've given that up now because I'm starting new business ventures, but at the same time I've still got time to do everything that I do. Yeah, it's true, when exam season comes I'm on lockdown, but I think it's worth it because I am ultimately working towards a career that I'll be really happy in, and I'm also doing other things that I'm passionate about simultaneously. So that is the end of my super long, super chatty advice on getting into medical school video. I hope that you guys found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and please share it with other medical students, other friends, people looking to apply to medicine, even dentistry. A lot of the advice I give kind of collides for medicine and dentistry. It's really, really similar. So if you feel like there's other people in your school, or you know, you have younger siblings or cousins who are interested in this, I think maybe if you show them this video, then they'll see just what it takes to study medicine, and if they're up for the challenge, then it's amazing. So I wish you guys all the best of luck with your medical applications. I really hope it goes how you plan for it to go, but don't forget what I told you about my own journey. If it doesn't happen straight away, it's for a reason, and there's always other options. There's always, you know, retrying and not giving up. Don't give up on your dreams. Always work hard and always believe in yourself. Everything happens for a reason. Love you guys lots. Yeah.